The year is 1837. A British soldier and Egyptologist named Howard Weiss was scouring the Great Pyramid of Giza looking for his next breakthrough. This was his third research trip to Egypt, and he feared it could be his last. Low on funding, he knew that if he wasn't able to make a breakthrough or explosive discovery, that the meager amount of funding and dynamite that he had left for his research was about to dry out. You see, up until this point, archaeologists had no idea what the purpose of the Great Pyramid was and why it was constructed in the first place. One evening, while in what is known as Davison's chamber, Weiss started poking at the walls with a reed he had on hand and noticed that one of the sections of the walls, he was able to insert the reed around 2 feet upwards through a small gap. Perplexed by this, Weiss started to contemplate on whether or not there was another chamber above Davison's chamber. Thinking that this may be the breakthrough that he had been waiting for, Weiss wasted no time deploying what is known as gunpowder archaeology. While other archaeologists employed the use of brushes and shovels to excavate ancient sites, Weiss was widely known for his, let's say, time-saving methods. Not one to waste any time though, Weiss was quick to rig Davison's chamber with enough explosives to send someone into orbit. Once all of the dynamite had been laid and all the fuses ran, and presumably with a large grin on his face, Weiss slammed the plunger home, thus igniting an explosion so great that by the time they re-entered, had left a huge hole in the wall of what was once Davison's chamber. On the other side, undiscovered rooms. Upon entering these new areas that now laid open, Weiss found something that he had been looking for. They were hieroglyphs of ancient Egyptian pharaoh known as King Kufu. Weiss later returned to England labeled as one of the greatest archaeologists of all time. And this is where the story ends. The Great Pyramid was nothing more than a tomb built for a pharaoh. Or is it? It's actually just the story's beginning, because as the years went on and research progressed, doubts started to be drawn about what had actually occurred all those years prior. And I don't mean the explosion part, that was 100% true, and you could actually still go today and see the hole in Davison's chamber that was blown 200 years ago by Weiss. I mean the part of why the Great Pyramid was built. These hieroglyphs depicting Khufu may not be as old as we initially thought. And I mean that they were in fact painted by Weiss all those years ago in order to fake a great discovery, showing up his finances that he so desperately needed at this time. Still, as of today, no hieroglyphs or forms of writing have been found at all anywhere else within the structure or even below it. Also, if it were in fact a tomb, then where are all the mummies, being that there are no mummies that have ever been found within a pyramid. Ever. Also, it does seem strange that for someone who was viewed as a god, such as the Egyptian viewed their pharaoh, why bury them in a structure with small passageways and tight corners? Doesn't seem too fitting for a god. Also, if it was Khufu's tomb, that means that from start to finish, the Great Pyramid would have had to been completed in 23 years, the length of his reign. So I think it's easy to say that the theory of the Great Pyramid being a tomb is a bust. But if it wasn't a tomb, then what was it? The Great Pyramid's architecture is strange. Need proof? First off, the Great Pyramid is aligned with the cardinal directions north, south, east, and west, within a 1/15 of 1 degree accuracy. Accuracy so precise that only modern engineering can match it. Most of the pyramid is built out of limestone, which is the rocks we see today. The rocks were probably mined close by due to this particular rock being abundant in the local area. The pyramid was once cased in a smooth, bright white limestone outer layer. These stones fit together so perfectly that no seams were visible from the outside. This particular material, though, is not found anywhere in the area. Closest location where the material can be found is Tura, a town almost 500 miles away. And they were large, weighing multiple tons each, a feat of engineering and logistics that is tough to match and almost impossible even to do today. The base is level within 3/4 of an inch, something so precise that it can only be done with lasers. The pyramid stood 481 feet tall and has a footprint over 13 acres. Each of the 2.5 million blocks used to construct the pyramid weigh between 2 to 70 tons apiece. each side being within 2 inches of any other. For some context here, 70 tons is equal to 35 large SUVs together. This, we are told, was moved on sleds on wet sand. Now, this seems impossible in and of itself, but let's assume that it happened for a second. Now, how did they manage to slide these stones over the distance of 500 miles and to proceed to lift them hundreds of feet in the air? How many sides does the Great Pyramid have? If you said 4, you're actually wrong. There are actually 8 sides that make up the pyramid, being that each side is slightly concave, something that could have really only been seen from an aerial view. And yes, all of these angles are perfect. They also knew the size of the Earth. If you take the base of the pyramid and multiply that by 43,200, you get 24,734 miles. That's within a few miles of the circumference of the Earth. This knowledge of the Earth goes a lot further though. You know the whole pyramid is massive with small rooms and chambers littered throughout? Well, the placement of these rooms are not random. There's a thing called the elliptic plane of the Earth, located 30 degrees north of the equator. The Great Pyramid was built at 23.5 degrees north of the equator. Subtract the 2, you get 6.5. Now, all the chambers within the pyramid are centered to this relationship. The same relationship the Earth shares relative to the pyramid's location on it. Now remember the limestone casting we spoke about earlier? Well, that limestone serves a special purpose. While normal limestone does carry an electrical current relatively easy, white limestone does not. Instead, when paired with the interior construction, it acts as almost like an insulator. Imagine the insulator that is placed on the outside of a wire, or even the mounting points on an alternator in your car. Hard components of electrical systems are always isolated from their surroundings in order to facilitate the movement of said electrical power within a specific defined direction, preventing what is known as an open ground. Moving all that energy to the golden capping stone up top. Gold being found in most electrical devices due to their ability to move an electrical current very efficiently. The interior chambers were built with a type of granite known as rose granite. Why is this important? Well, rose granite is high in quartz. Quartz being a generator of electricity. If it is so much as touched, it generates something known as piezoelectricity. In other words, one side gets a positive charge, the other gets a negative charge. Connect them, you got a circuit. This quartz-rich limestone lines all of the interior halls and passageways. Putting pressure on the inside will generate a massive electrical current out of it. This is just part of the story though. The pyramid is also built on underground aquifers, flowing water that creates vibrations that resonate throughout the structure. They also found something recently with SAR scanning of the region. What did they find? Multiple vertical shafts stretching about 2,000 feet under the ground, more than 4 times the height of the pyramid. Potentially the perfect structure to transfer the energy into the quartz and make it resonate. There's also what is known as a Queen's Chamber, which happens to have 2 vertical shafts entering the room. Once examined, these 2 shafts were found to contain hydrochloric acid and zinc chloride. Why are these 2 chemicals important? Because when mixed together, they produce a chemical reaction that produces hydrogen, traces of which can still be detected today. This hydrogen gas would then rise to what is known as the Grand Gallery. The Grand Gallery containing pillars located within it that happen to resonate at 440 Hz, the same frequency as the Earth. Now, once you combine the pressure of the hydrogen gas and its ability of these pillars to resonate with that specific frequency and the quartz in the walls, you essentially get a large musical instrument. A musical instrument which can vibrate the quartz crystals, thus generating energy, transferred up through what is known as the relieving chamber, through the gold capstone up top. So most of this information we know today thanks to a researcher named Chris Dunn and his extremely thorough investigation of the Great Pyramid. And I'll see you as we continue to take the path not traveled. Thank you.